The windmill creaked slow, its rusted arms moaning as if the prairie itself were tired of breathing. Dust swirled in the yard, rolling across broken fence posts and the skeleton of a corral long abandoned. The rancher stood at the doorway, rifle resting against his leg, eyes narrowed at the figure swaying toward him through the red-stained dusk. She staggered, wrapped in a filthy blanket, bare feet dragging through the grit. Closer now, her breath rattled like a busted bellows, her hair matted to her face. When she lifted her chin, her lips cracked open. "I'm filthy," she whispered, voice torn raw. Inside and out. Her knees buckled. The rancher caught her weight before she struck the ground, the blanket sliding across his arm. Heat pulsed from her skin, sweat and dirt thick as tar. He hauled her inside, boots echoing on warped floorboards. The lantern swung above them, shadows stretching across the walls like long, crooked fingers. She clutched at him, eyes wide, desperate. "Don't look." But his hands were already at the blanket, pulling it back. The cloth fell away, and his breath caught. Across her shoulders ran dark bruises, shaped like ropes burned deep into flesh. Her arms bore scars, slashes, punctures, the faded ink of brands and marks only outlaws wore. Blood seeped from half-healed wounds along her ribs. A chain still dangled from her wrist, snapped jagged where iron had given way. She shivered under his stare, tears cutting through the dirt on her cheeks. "Please," she rasped. "Cover me. Don't see me." The rancher froze, rifle still within reach, his jaw locked tight. The lantern hissed, smoke curling toward the ceiling beams. Outside, the desert wind rose higher, flinging grit against the window panes like claws. The blanket sagged loose in his hands, and he could not look away. She hid her face, shoulders trembling. "They'll come," she murmured. "They'll come before the night's through." Her words seemed to ride the wind itself, a warning carried into the hollow silence of the house. The rancher's pulse hammered, his breath heavy as the floor creaked beneath his boots. The woman's chest rose in sharp, shallow gasps, each one a plea. The smell of blood and sweat filled the room. Somewhere outside, a coyote cried long and low, its wail folding into the dark. The rancher let the blanket fall back over her, though the image was already carved into him like a scar. The windmill groaned again, the lantern guttered, and the house, brittle with silence, seemed to wait for hoofbeats that had not yet come. The lantern flame trembled, casting long, crooked shadows across the walls. The woman's breath rattled in the silence, her body wrapped tight in the blanket. The rancher sat across from her, rifle resting across his knees, his eyes fixed on the black window where night pressed in. A sound broke the stillness. Hoofbeats, distant, slow at first, like a drum buried in the desert's chest. Then another, and another. The rhythm carried on the wind, steady, inevitable. Her head snapped toward the sound, eyes wide, fever bright. "They found me," she whispered, voice raw as gravel. The rancher's jaw tightened. He rose, moved to the window, and pushed the curtain aside just enough to see. The horizon glowed faint under the rising moon, dust stirring where the earth trembled with each step of the riders. Shadows stretched long, shapeless, drifting closer. "They won't stop," she said, her voice breaking. Her fingers clutched the blanket as if to tear it into her skin. "They never stop." The hoofbeats grew louder. A coyote yipped, cut short by silence. The old windmill turned slow, its creak lost beneath the growing thunder of hooves. The rancher set the curtain back in place and reached for the lantern. His hand steadied its flame, though his chest heaved like a bellows. "Stay low," he muttered, eyes never leaving the window. Her gaze fixed on him, hollow and searching. Why would you risk it?" The hoofbeats halted. Stillness again, too sharp, too sudden. The night itself held its breath. Then, faintly, came the jangle of spurs, the scrape of leather, the cough of a horse. Voices murmured low outside, carried just enough for the rancher to hear the edge of laughter. The woman curled tighter, rocking in the chair, her teeth pressing against her lip until blood welled red. "They'll kill you. They'll burn this place to the ground." The rancher moved to the door, placed his ear against the wood. The voices outside grew clearer, men calling each other by name, the sharp bark of orders. A match struck, flared. Through the cracks, he saw firelight blooming, torches raised against the night. He turned back. The woman's eyes met his. Fear swam deep in them, but beneath it flickered something else, guilt, heavy and unspoken. The rancher lifted the rifle into his arms. The stock fit against his shoulder like it had never left. His finger brushed the trigger guard, slow, familiar. The hoofbeats began again, circling the house now. One rider whistled, sharp as a knife cutting silence. The woman's voice came low, almost a prayer. "Don't let them take me." The rancher's breath left him in a hard whisper. "They won't." Outside, torches hissed, shadows danced, and the desert night braced for blood. The first torch struck the side of the house, flames licking the boards. The rancher shouldered the rifle and fired through the window. A rider screamed, dropped into the dust. Horses shrieked, hoofs scattering. The woman threw herself against the wall, clutching the blanket around her. The fire's glow washed her face red, her eyes wild. "They'll burn us alive," she hissed. The rancher racked another round, teeth clenched, but her voice cut through the roar outside. "You don't know who they are." Gunshots split the night, bullets snapping through the window frame. Splinters bit his cheek. He ducked low, breathing hard, and caught her stare. "Tell me then," he growled. Her lips trembled. She pulled the blanket tighter, then tore it away. Scars crossed her ribs, wounds old and new. But it wasn't the blood that stopped him. It was the gun gleaming beneath, a Colt polished clean, waiting as though it had never left her hand. The rancher froze, words dying in his throat. Her grip found the weapon quick, certain. She rose, the tremor gone from her limbs. "I was married to him," she spat, voice sharp as broken glass. "The man they followed, the man they still serve. He's in the ground now, but I ain't." The rifle sagged in the rancher's hands. His breath came rough, tangled in the smoke curling through the rafters. "You're his widow." Her eyes blazed, steady on his. "They think I know where the gold is buried. They think I'll lead him, but I got more than maps. I got names." She tapped her chest, where the blanket had hidden a thin ledger bound in leather, dark with age. Bullets ripped into the walls again, the gang whooping outside. The rancher flinched as the lantern toppled, glass shattering. Darkness swallowed the room, save the firelight seeping through cracks. The widow stepped forward, revolver steady in her grip, body framed by the glow. "I told you I was filthy," she said, her voice iron now. "Inside and out, but filth can still kill." The riders closed in. The rancher raised his rifle beside her. She kicked the door wide. Gunfire roared. Men shouted. Horses thrashed. Her first shot cracked through the chaos. Clean, sharp, certain. A man fell. Another followed. The Colt's muzzle lit her face in fierce flashes, not a trace of weakness left. The rancher fired too, but he found himself watching her as much as the fight. She moved with the poise of a gunfighter, each step measured, each shot final. Smoke thickened, torches sputtered in the dust, and the night itself seemed to lean closer, listening. "They'll remember this," the rancher muttered, barely hearing his own words. The widow's revolver snapped once more. A man screamed. "They better," she said, voice low, sure. And the prairie answered with silence between shots, heavy and eternal. The doorframe shook under another volley. The widow fired back, smoke wreathing her face, each shot echoing like thunder across the hollow. Men fell, cursing, stumbling in the firelight, but the circle closed tighter. Then he came. The leader rode forward through the haze, scar jaw, eyes like cold iron, torch raised high. His voice cut through the din, "Bring her out, or we'll take her piece by piece." The rancher raised his rifle, but the widow laid a hand on his arm. Her grip was steady, commanding. She stepped past him, blankets slipping from her shoulders, leaving scars bare beneath the moonlight. The Colt gleamed, cocked and ready. The gang hushed, the circle of horses shifting restless. Only the fire popped, only the wind moaned across the plain. The leader dismounted slow, boots sinking into dust. His hand hovered above his pistol, lips curling in a grin. I knew you'd crawl back out. Thought maybe death had you. But here you are, dressed in dirt and sin. The widow's voice rang clear, sharper than any bullet. Death had me plenty, but it spit me back, and tonight it's hungry for you. They stood 10 paces apart, fire burning between them. The gang watched, silent now, breathless as the desert itself. The rancher's rifle wavered at his shoulder, but he knew this was hers. The leader's hand twitched. His pistol flashed free. Her Colt spoke first. The shot cracked like the sky, splitting open. His chest jerked, torch tumbling, firelight dying in the dust. He staggered once, knees folding, face striking earth without a sound. Silence followed. Not a horse stirred, not a man breathed. The gang stared at the body, cooling in the dirt. The widow stepped closer, revolver still leveled, smoke drifting from its barrel. Her voice came low, final. Any man who follows him to hell. The riders shifted, eyes cast down. One dropped his torch, another spurred his horse back into the night. The rest broke apart like mist, scattered into the darkness until only hoofbeats remained, fading into nothing. The rancher lowered his rifle, chest heaving. The widow stood alone in the yard, moonlight silvering her scars, her breath steady despite the blood at her side. For a long while, neither spoke. Only the windmill creaked, slow and mournful. At last, the rancher's voice cracked through the quiet. "What'll they call you after this?" Her gaze stayed fixed on the fallen man, the Colt heavy but sure in her hand. "Doesn't matter what they call me," she said. "The land will remember." And the old storyteller's voice drifts, closing the tale like a prayer. They said she was filthy inside and out, but the desert knew better. The desert carved her name deep in its dust, where legends never die. The widow of Ash Hollow, who stood when all hope was gone and wrote her truth in blood.